To celebrate 150 years of existence, Epiphone is releasing a trio of new models. Today we're taking a look at probably our favorite of the three. This is the new for 2023 Casino. Check it out. Hey, you're watching Alamo Music TV. My name is Chris McKee.
And I'm Cooper Greenberg.
We're here with Alamo Music Center in San Antonio, Texas. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, like our videos. If you want to support the channel, visit our spring store link below for swag and check out our podcast, the Fretboard Confessional. So let's get to it. 150 years in existence. Epiphone was a competitor of Gibson's back in the day. Then they were purchased by Gibson. And in the 60s, production moved to Kalamazoo, Michigan, where they started producing a number of new models, particularly this, probably the most popular of their archtops, the Casino. Came out in the 60s, was made very popular by a lot of the bands of the 60s, and now they have a new version of it that's come out.
Yeah, perfect timing that Get Back came out a few years ago.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
you can't time 150 with Peter Jackson all the time, so.
You can try.
You can try.
But yeah, we got the Casino, and like many people, my interest in this guitar was revamped by that documentary series. And I've been waiting to get my hands on one. We've had the USA models on order for quite some time, but this is the import model, super affordable, and probably one of the best setup, best sounding hollow bodies. I was gonna say semi-hollow, but this is hollow, and it feels great. I love the P90s, and it's just really cool guitar with a lot of history that they did a good job on.
More P90s. We just did a video on how great P90s are. And, you know, this really kind of accentuates that point. Great thin hollow body guitar. It's got that P90 sound, you know, that was made really famous, to your point, on the Beatles album. So George Harrison and John Lennon bought a pair of these and used them in their 66 tour. And then, of course, we see John with it in the Get Back documentary, which if you haven't seen that, you're living under a rock. I don't know. But very cool guitar. You know, with a lot of the stuff that we're seeing from Epiphone, there's a lot of argument on the internet that I tend to agree with, that the value proposition with what Epiphone's putting out versus a similar guitar from Gibson is just kind of out of this world. I mean, it's really hard to make an argument. Now, there are the USA models of this, which we, to your point, we haven't received. We can't compare. But this is such a well-done guitar that you kind of go, well, what else? What are you getting? That's worth the additional cost.
One of the things that always happens with Epiphones that I think Chris would agree with is you can open one up and it's either set up great, it's perfect, or there's a lot of issues. And it's the same thing with every import brand that we carry. It happens with Squier all the time, and you know. But with this one, it made me want to go open up the others that we got and see, because this, like, I would change nothing on this guitar. One of my first thoughts is, I'm gonna buy this, I'm gonna go get some really nice P90s or something, but then I plugged it in and it sounds great. There's literally nothing to change about this guitar. You know, you mentioned there's a couple other models like the Sheraton that they're redoing. I've loved that guitar ever since, you know, I've watched it, the Ezra from Vampire Weekend, it made me really fall in love with that. It's a little different than his, but you know, there's some of these models like the Casino, the Sheraton, what's the third one, is the Emperor? That they're doing that it almost takes away that whole argument about the headstock. Because they're Epiphone models.
That's like, the thing, is it's not a Gibson model done at a lower price. It's not an Epiphone Les Paul. It is an original Epiphone model, in which case the E is suddenly cool.
It's suddenly
versus when it is very clearly your budget option, it just seems less cool to
Same thing with the Frontier, same thing with the Texan. It's like, if you're gonna go Epiphone, it's kind of worth it to dig into their history and their models that they made. And I think this one, obviously there's similarities with some Gibson models, but the Casino, I love this. They do it in two finishes. I'm a big fan of the natural. They have an antique burst. But yeah, it's just a very cool guitar.
Well, let's talk about the specs on it. So you've got a thin line hollow body guitar, which on this guitar, outside of the setup, you know, Cooper was playing it kind of before we started to roll, and just acoustically, and it has a really nice acoustic tone, which I've often said from a standpoint of an electric guitar, you want to have some of that resonance. You want to hear things. So I've always demoed guitar before I plug it into an amp, just to hear how it rings. And this rings so well. So that's really awesome. You've got a 5-ply maple body. You've got your single-ply plastic binding on it, which is typical. All of your hardware that you'd expect on something from the 60s, you know, they don't even need to call it that. It just is hitting it right at home. Of course, you've got a mahogany neck, which I was noting that the finish is kind of cool. They've almost done like a whitewash so that it blends in with that very blonde maple, all that much better. You've got the classic kind of small button tuners that are on there. And then the pickups, to your point, they sound really good. They're Pro P90 pickups. So, you know, in that world, you've got USA pickups and you've got Epiphone pickups, and you have these Pro pickups, which kind of sit there in the middle. And according to just about everybody, they're really good pickups. And I really dig, I mean, they're P90s, they're dog-eared P90s, so it's got that really classic look going with it. So, and of course, you have that trapeze style bridge down there at the bottom.
And I think it was on the Sheraton, they have that other tailpiece, I think it's the frequencator. I'm really excited to see that because the look is there. This is definitely a good option for any style of music, but especially if you're leaning into that old school vibe. This is it's too affordable to ignore when you're trying to kind of add a hollow into the mix. So I really dig it.
Now, where you do have the import things taking place, the big one is probably the fingerboard. So you have your typical 24 3/4 inch or 24.75 inch scale length like you'd expect. That fingerboard is not rosewood, it's Indian laurel, which is pretty close to Indian rosewood.
And it's, I mean, maybe it's because this is so blonde, but it's dark and it looks
darker.
Good.
I thought the same thing. A lot of times we see laurel and it comes in and it's very light and it's kind of off-putting, not because of the feel or because of the sound, but just because of the visuals. And this actually works pretty well. So
it's cool.
All in all, plays really well.
Yeah.
Sounds really good. Let's take a listen. And we're back with the Epiphone Casino, the new edition launched for 2023 to celebrate the 150-year anniversary of Epiphone. We mentioned right before going into the demo, you've got the Indian Laurel fingerboard instead of rosewood. That's kind of one of the giveaways that it's an import version. You've got the pro level P90 pickups, which we think sound fantastic. You just heard the demo, so you can decide for yourself. But yeah, I don't know that I'd be hard pressed to really swap anything out electronics wise or pickup wise. And there's actually a benefit. I did a video in the past, a few months back, talking about Gibson headstocks. You know, if you know, you know. So one of the benefits with this, I say it's a benefit, is it's got a scarf joint on the headstock. And the benefit, you can go back and watch that video about what happens with Gibson headstocks. I kind of explained the why from a physics and strength standpoint and a potential fix. And one of my fixes is actually on this guitar, the scarf joint headstock. So it's a stronger joint. You don't have grain run out, which means it's less likely to break very easily in any kind of fall damage. So that's a plus.
It is a plus. With those pickups, I played it through the Blues Junior clean amp, and it was super clean on the neck, and I loved switching into the bridge. You can just hear the bite. Like, it's definitely got the power. It's just like we talked about in that other P90 video with the Les Paul. P90s are pretty much good for anything. They'll give you the growl and the heaviness, the really nice, clean, creamy tone. So, yeah, I would not change the pickups. I'm trying to think. You could always change out to different tuners, but it tuned up totally fine. And I think they knocked it out of the park. It does come with a gig bag too, which is not necessarily always there with Epiphone electrics.
Yeah, and I actually like that. Particularly when it comes to semi-hollow body and hollow body guitars, they tend to be on the wider end of the spectrum, and it's hard to find a case or a gig bag. And so I'm of the opinion that most manufacturers should ship a gig bag or a case with a guitar like this, because most dealers aren't going to have very many. It's just, it's one of those things. So I'm glad they did that.
Yeah. No, all in all, awesome guitar. Very impressed. There's been too many times over the last year that we've opened up new Epiphones and, had to get replacements or something. It seems like, especially with imports, there's some finish issues sometimes. If, at the very least, it needs a setup that we have to do. So this came out the box perfect. I will go check on the other ones because I want to be proven that they're doing something right. But I love it. It's awesome.
Well, and let's talk about the value. So we talked about value at the very beginning of the video. So the price on this currently, you can check our website as always for the latest price information, is $799. So $800 for this with a gig bag. I think that's a really good deal. Yeah. And honestly, the way price increases have been going recently, especially during the pandemic, we were seeing 3 or 4 price increases per year. It's really nice to see a guitar come out with good quality, with specs that make me go, I'd like to buy that. And it's $800. Yeah. So very cool. If you want more information about this guitar or any of the new stuff that's coming out from Epiphone, you should go to our website, which is
alamomusic.com.
You can check out all of the photos, the specs there. You can compare, and you can talk with an associate either on the phone or through messaging in order to get all the information you need to make the right purchase for you. Because at the end of the day, the best guitar in the world is the one you're playing. I'd play this all day. The weight is really nice, kind of perfectly weighted. So anyways, so check out our website. And if you're new to our channel, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, like our videos, and keep coming back for more. We'll see you next time.